Hello, students. So I'm hoping that everybody had a great weekend and enjoyed themselves, got plenty of rest, but we're back to school and it is time to get started. So last week we looked at the new project that we are going to begin. So we looked at the project Compass. The name of the project is Our Neighbors to the South, the United States of America. So last week, last Tuesday and Wednesday, we looked at the brainstorming section of the project. So we went through thought about words that we thought were related to the United States, and things went really well. We had a lot of great ideas, but now that we've gotten to that point, it's time to move on to step 2 of our project, which is the grammar point. And the grammar point is the simple present. Okay, so there's different things that we're going to be talking about today. So the very first thing I want to do is a very quick review of the pronouns. Okay, the personal subject pronouns. So talk about what are the personal subject pronouns and when are they used. And I know a lot of you are saying, oh, we've talked about this, we've looked at this already, but I think it's important to look at it again. So here, what I'd like you to do is as I'm speaking, I'd like you to be on the same page of your Project Compass, and I would like you to take notes as we're going. Okay, and this video will be posted on my website, so if you need to come back later, if there's some things that you weren't able to pick up as we were going, you can come back, you can look at it, and go from there. So the very first pronoun that I put was I. Okay, so for example, I live in Montreal. Okay, this is used when you're obviously talking about yourself. Okay, the second pronoun is you. Okay, so when is you used? You is used, oops, is used, well, I'm having trouble here on my keyboard, is used when you are talking to someone, okay? To someone. Okay, so it's you and it's used when you're talking to someone. Now just remember, in French you say tu and you say vous. Now remember, in English, we do not have the equivalent of tu and vous. Okay, so tu, for example, tu es mon ami, or vous êtes mon ami. In English, the same thing would be you are my friend, you are my friend. So there is no difference, okay? Now, the third pronoun would be he. Okay, when do we use the pronoun he? Well, obviously, he is going to be used when you are talking about a male or a boy or a guy, when you're talking about a male boy or a guy. So he. So for example, he, or for example, let's look. So if we said he is used when you are talking about a boy. Okay. So for example, he. So for example, Dwayne, I am a boy. So we'd say he when we're referring to Dwayne. So if we said Dwayne is a teacher, okay, Dwayne is a teacher. Let's go to Word and look at this. This is just an example. So Dwayne is a teacher. Okay. You could also replace this is the noun. And obviously, nouns are replaced by pronouns. So if we replace Dwayne by a pronoun, the subject pronoun, it would be he is a teacher. Okay. Now let's go back to the page, line this. Then we move on to she. Okay. Now she is used, so it's the same thing. She is used when you are talking about a girl, not a boy, sorry. Okay, so for example, let's look at an example. Let's say, let's take the name Emily, okay? So in French you'd say Emilie. So Emily is a policewoman, okay? Emily is a policewoman. So the noun in this sentence is going to be Emily. And if we want to replace Emily with a subject pronoun, then we're going to say she is a police woman. Okay, so this, let's just go put it in bold, underline it, and go back to our compass. Okay, the other thing here that we have is it. Now it. Sometimes people think that it is associated with what we say in French as on, but on is not the equivalent of it. It is used, so it is used when talking about objects or pets, for example. Okay, now there are some exceptions, obviously, and we've talked about this. Let's go back to our thing here. So for example, here is the noun. So the table is in the kitchen. Okay, so the noun, one of the nouns, the noun that we're interested right here, if we're going to replace for a subject pronoun, is the table. Okay, so this is going to be the noun. The table is in the kitchen. So the table, you know, we don't add gender, we don't add, so we have no masculine, feminine. So we're just going to simply say it is in the kitchen if we're looking to replace it with a subject pronoun. Okay. The other way. Now here we have, let's see, when we're talking about pets or more animals, for example. Okay, so here you'd say, let's talk about a fish. Let's think of a fish. Maybe you have a goldfish that's sitting in your kitchen, or a goldfish that's sitting in your bedroom. Okay, so the fish is in my bedroom. Well, obviously, so here the fish is the subject pronoun, the noun, I'm sorry, that we're looking at. And then if we want to replace the fish, because we don't really give gender to a fish or to an object, so the fish would be an animal, and the table would be an example of an object, we'd say the fish, so we'd say it is in my bedroom. Okay. Obviously, there are some exceptions to this rule. For example, if we're talking about, let's see, exceptions. So if we're talking about cats or dogs, if we're talking about even a bird, potentially, things that are animals, you know, specific animals that are common that we have in our house. So kind of, and that's the way that we do it here. Now let's go back to here. Now here on this line I'm going to put two because we don't have enough space, but we're going to put two different pronouns on this one. So first we have we, okay? And then the second pronoun is they, okay? So we is used when you are talking about you and others, okay? And let's see, we'll say they, oops, okay, and they is used when you are talking about more than one other person. Okay, so for example, let's go back to our Word document and look at the examples. So here if we have we, okay, so let's say Dwayne and Emily are teachers, okay? So the nouns that we're looking to replace here would be Dwayne and Emily, okay, are teachers. So this is for they, okay, so this is for they. So if we're going to replace they, Dwayne and Emily, we're going to replace it with they are teachers, because we're talking about two people. And notice that there is no gender. So for example, if you have, let's say the example is Mary and Emily are teachers, okay? The same rule would apply, okay? You are still going to say they are teachers. So there is no feminine when it comes to they, and there is no masculine. We just use they for more than one person. Now let's get to we. Okay, so we. All right, so we, so it'd be Emily and I are teachers. Okay, Emily and I are teachers. Okay, so we'd say we are teachers. Okay, we are teachers. Okay, so we have that. So that kind of takes care of the pronouns. Okay, and this is important to study. It's important to remember, and it's going to come back time and time again throughout the year, and also in the future as you continue studying English. Okay. Now it's time to look at number 2. So the rules for forming the present simple. So it says in the present simple, we add an n to the verb in the third person singular. So he, she, it. Okay? Obviously right now we are talking about regular verbs. There are some irregular verbs like to be, to have. Those are irregulars that this is not necessarily true. Okay, but let's look at regular verbs for right now. Okay, so this is easy. You're just adding an s to the verb in the third person singular. So anytime it's he, she, or it, you're going to use an s. Now here you have a question. It says, what example is given? I want you to listen closely and I want you to write the example that I give on the Word document. Okay, so let's just get rid of all of this right here. Oops. All of this. And let's go up and look. So the example. So the example A. Okay. So here would be he lives in Montreal. So notice that he lives. So the S here is what's important. Because if we go back, let's look back and conjugate the entire verb here, we'd say I live in Montreal, you live in Montreal, and then he lives, so again, that's where the S comes in, third person singular, in Montreal. Oops, don't forget my period here. Okay, and then she lives in Montreal, it lives in Montreal, we live in Montreal, they live in Montreal. Okay, so remember S, S, and S right here. Okay, so the example that you could give, so the example that you could write on your paper would be he lives in Montreal. And I will let you take the lead on that and decide. Okay, so here it says for B, we add n to the verbs ending in CH, SS, SH, O, or X. So we have some examples. So let me give you some examples of some verbs. Let's look at example B. Oops, B. Typing wrong here. So example B. So let's use watch. So he watches the children on the weekend. Okay. So the big thing is ES. So this is the example that you can go ahead and write on your paper. So the answer here is we add an ES to the verbs ending in CH, SS, SH, O, and X. So for example, let me give you an example of a verb. Here we have the CH, so you can write this down as your example. So watch with an ES, the children on the weekend. And then we have a verb that ends in SS. Okay, so for example, pass. He passes, or let's try it with she this time. Okay, let's give some attention to the she pronoun. So she passes her exams every year. Okay, so again, instead of adding just the S like we did in example A, okay, let's just go ahead and this around. So instead of adding just the S, because this is an exception, when it ends with CH, you're going to add an ES. When it ends with an SS, okay, you're going to add an ES instead of just the simple S. Then the other thing we have here is SH, and a good example is it washes its ears every day. Now, for example, it washes its ears. That sounds kind of like a bizarre sentence, but you could say, for example, like a cat. It washes its ears with its paws, and so it washes its ears. But anyway, so it ends with an SH. Oops. And then, again, instead of just the ES, it is going to be, I'm sorry, instead of just the S, it is going to be an ES. So it washes its ears and not washes with just an S. So it's washes with an ES. Then we have the SH. Oh, we just did the SH. Sorry about that. So we did the watch. We did the SS. We did the SH. And now we're on to O. Okay, so let's say he